One. Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Senior News Editor with Retail Insider. Joining me today is Gary Prenevost, who is a board member of the Canadian Franchise Association and also worked with FranNet. Thanks for joining us today, Gary.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, let's do a state of the union type thing when it comes to the franchise industry in Canada. What's it like these days, Gary?
It's coming back the last year, 2022, with the job market and a little bit of the uncertainty in the economy. It was a softer year right across North America, with the exception of some specialty categories like QSR, fast casual food. But we saw the industry down about 35% in terms of new franchise sales. A lot of the franchisees have reported very strong growth, return to normal, in some cases record growth. So it's been exciting on both sides, and we see a lot of momentum coming into 2023. A lot more interest now.
Why?
I think we had a really hot job market, and that job market is still strong. But with the fears of the recession or potential economic slowdown, we're seeing some big tech layoffs. So that's creating uncertainty. And this is an old pattern. This pattern has been around for a long time. We're just seeing a resurgence of it. So we're seeing people say, well, I better pay attention to what might happen to me down the road. So what are my options now? We're seeing more people look at this journey. It's taking longer, though.
I guess you're right that when the last couple of weeks in the news, you've seen Google, you've seen Amazon, you've seen Twitter, and a number of tech companies lay off significant amounts of people. But I guess when jobs get tight, that's when people look. But who else looks at franchising?
One of the trends we've seen this last couple of years, and this has always been there, we're just seeing a higher degree of it, Mario, and that is the people who are saying, I've got a good corporate track. The job market is still strong. I'm going to stay, but I want to hedge against future career uncertainty, or I want to build wealth on the side. And this is bringing what we call semi-absentee or owner-run businesses, manager-run businesses. The owner or the franchisee manages the back office, manages the key manager, but the business is open full time. So it's not all businesses are set up to run that way, but the ones that are seeing some very strong interest.
Okay, let's talk about different categories of interest. It seems to me that the food service, especially quick service, is probably the most popular when it comes to franchising.
Yes, and especially the brands that we saw the early response to the pandemic, where they really innovated and optimized. Then you had some mid-stage optimizers. The brands that responded to the changing technology and what the customer wanted, was able to serve those customers, really saw some exciting growth. Now, again, QSR, quick serve, fast casual, those are the ones that saw the greatest strength. Another industry, the pet industry. The pet industry is a wonderful industry, not an easy industry to get into, because it's real estate is such an important component of that. So that's another really strong one. We saw beauty, hair care, those are stable industries. I guess the theme here is need-based versus want-based businesses, or high want. Like, you think about beauty, it's not a need, but it is a high demand business that it suffered during the temporary lockdowns, but it responded back really quickly. So we're seeing a lot of excitement in that area.
Oh, wonderful. What do you think it takes for an individual to be a successful franchise owner?
Well, I just finished writing a book that's coming out next month on that, called The Unstoppable Franchisee: 7 Drivers of Next Level Success. Wow. And I interviewed over 30 CEOs, some of the biggest CEOs of franchise systems on the planet, as well as top franchisees. And the number one element is the mindset. So if people are coming into this, and you know, mindset, there's a lot written on it, Mario, but it's the mindset of resilience, the mindset of I'll make this work no matter what. The mindset of optimism, not pessimism.
Yeah.
Like going into business, and I hope it works. It's amazing how many people buy a business prematurely because they trust the brand. Well, it's great that the brand is there and the system works, but if they can't execute the business model, doesn't matter how good the brand is, they're going to fail at delivering the brand promise. So I think people often buy businesses prematurely. They figure out the what and the why, but they haven't taken enough time on the how. The franchisor has how it's run. They haven't figured out how they're going to execute how it's run. So I think that's a really, really important part, is understanding the critical roles it takes to drive business, drive success in the industry, and how well can they fulfill it. What are their skills? What are their transferable skills? Do they have enough money? Do they have enough time, or the amount of time required? And what is the franchisor systems, processes, and all the support do to bridge those gaps, whatever the gaps are? That's where you see franchising make a really strong connection.
So when you look at these days, I'm finding and seeing more and more when it comes to franchising, like say one company or one group having rights to say 20 or 30, locations of a certain brand, etc. Is that grown in that sense where, in the past, I don't know, maybe, my mind, I was thinking, franchise is somebody, here and there, one, two, type thing, and no long, not this company, buying up rights for 20, 30, 50 locations.
So I think the question that really the answer is around scalability and the individual's goals around how scalable they want to get. Certainly, we've seen consolidation in some brands where I would rather have 20 franchisees who have 5 or more units than have 100 franchisees who have 1 unit. So it's the franchisor at a certain point, the more franchisees have, the more support it requires. So let's look to getting more sophisticated operators. And as a brand matures over time and it proves the model, that naturally attracts sophisticated operators. So those are the people who are going to scale into 20, 30 units or more, but that still is the exception and not the norm. Most of our clients, we've been doing this for over 20 years, most of our clients are saying, I want to get into business to protect a lifestyle. Some of those people, once I get to X, hey, I'm happy there as long as I have X amount of time, X amount of income, and I have this quality of life. That's why they go into business. Some of our clients are saying, once I achieve X, I want to get to Y, then I want to get to Y plus. And those are the people that eventually will evolve into multi-unit. So it comes all the way back to when people are looking for a franchise. We've got the CFA franchise show coming up on February 4th, 5th. They go online. It's understanding what their growth goals are before they start looking, because some brands don't enable that. You can have a really big brand, and there's lots of opportunity for multiple units, but in other cities. So it depends on all that. Long answer.
Yeah, no worries. And I'm also curious, is there a difference in I guess a store or a brand's location when it's operated by a family or a person, as opposed to being operated by, say, a franchisee that has 30 locations?
Well, there's a loaded question. I have seen scenarios of both where they're wildly successful and they fail miserably.
Okay.
So it's not about the entity, or the family or the business unit. It's comes back to skills and the leadership team and whatever it is, they've got to have the skills to run the business. And I've seen franchisees who've got 5 units in one. Well, let me go into this completely different category, and then fail because it's too far away from their skills. I've seen the same thing where they've got that. Let's go into this other business that's complementary and leverages the intellectual and operational horsepower that we have. So it is a highly strategic growth opportunity that people need to be careful with. It does touch on one of the other trends I wrote about in the CFA article. which is MUMBOs, new term that's coming out, multi-unit, multi-brand owners.
Oh, okay.
So this is where we're seeing it more in the States, but it's starting to happen up in Canada as well. Excuse me, is where I get to a certain size. There's not a lot of, I as the franchisee, there's not a lot of more opportunity for me to scale within this brand. So let's look at strategic other brands. It's exactly what I just finished talking about, strategic decision, where it's not just one or two. We can go into here and we can get 3, 5, 10. So that's one of the ways. Now you have to have a franchisor that's supportive of that. Sometimes we see, this is tying to another trend, which is platform franchising. You see MTY Group, a parent company that owns a lot of brands. They all leverage the operational structure of the mothership and the systems and processes. So for them to go to another brand within that is very common. So we see more companies, private equity firms coming in and building multiple brand enterprises under one mothership. So watch for that in the coming 2023, next couple of years as well.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks very much for Gary for joining us today.
Well, that's been wow, that went by fast. It's my pleasure. So just a reminder again, the franchise show for people who are at the stage. I'm looking for my options. The franchise show in Toronto, really good opportunity to talk with the actual face-to-face with people that are working in the brand. One of the greatest opportunities in the franchise show is the seminars, the workshops on legal, operational, finding the right fit. That's a session that I do. So encourage your viewers to attend that.
Oh, wait, wonderful. Thanks, Gary. And that was Gary Prenevost, who is a board member of the Canadian Franchise Association and also works with FranNet. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Senior News Editor with Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.